O conferință foarte interesantă la care am fost invitat să participăm și să filmăm a fost Nazi-Soviet Pact 80, adică 80 de ani de la semnarea pactului Ribbentrop-Molotov, pact care a afectat, după cum știți, și România. Atunci România a pierdut Basarabia și nordul Bucovinei. Iată că și după 80 de ani se discută despre acest pact, în special despre protocolul secret, a cărui existență a fost negată de Rusia până în 1989. Invitatul special al acestei conferințe a fost Garry Kasparov, fost campion mondial la șah, dar și un critic acerb al regimului de la Kremlin.
For people who do remember the lessons of history, who remember the lessons of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, a terrible time when too many people said this was happening in places far away of which we knew nothing, when they said we should just stand by and let it happen. We all know what that complacency led to, and that is why we absolutely cannot be complacent today. That is the lesson of history. But we see another example of people somehow not remembering the lesson of this very darkest chapter of the 20th century, possibly darkest chapter in human history. And that is that somehow, notwithstanding the horrors of the Holocaust, for which this pact was preface, we still see today people who do not denounce anti-Semitism, people who do not recognize the rise of white supremacy and white supremacist thinking for what it is, which is one of the gravest threats that we face today. And not recognizing that, not speaking out forcefully against that, is also being willfully and dangerously ignorant of the lessons of history.
The dignity of the person lies at the heart of every decent religion, of every decent political philosophy, and of every decent view of life. And Garry Kasparov is one of the great fighters for human dignity and for human freedom. It's my pleasure to introduce him to you tonight. Thank you.
My thanks to my friend Markus Kalga and everyone who organized this important event. I'm honored to be here today. And it's always a pleasure to be in Canada, the uncompromised leader of the free world. Or what's left of it. Let me state that again plainly here at the start. Hitler and Stalin were allies. They started World War II together with the goal of enslaving Europe between them. So eager for a deal was Stalin that he replaced his foreign affairs minister, the Jewish Maxim Litvinov, with Molotov in order to gain Hitler's favor. And it worked. The Soviet Union was a principal aggressor, waiting just 17 days to shift the blame to Hitler before stabbing Poland in the back. The Red Army attacked Poland as eagerly as did Germany, and they met as friends in the middle. On September 22nd, 1939, conquering Soviet and German forces held a joint victory parade in the Polish city of Brest-Litovsk, before the German military withdrew back behind the line agreed by Molotov-Ribbentrop. Less than a year later, the Baltic states were next to be occupied and annexed by the USSR. People who wanted only independence were trapped between two evil superior forces trying to destroy and enslave them. Even today, Ukrainian and Baltic patriots are slanderously accused of having been fascist when all they wanted was freedom. Finland was also on Stalin's menu, but heroic resistance and harsh winter interfered with his plans. And yet, because Stalin was left with no choice but to join the Allies to defeat Hitler, history and the present are much kinder to him. In the aftermath of the war, it was inconvenient to talk too much about Uncle Joe's alliance with Hitler in 1939 or his other crimes. The author of the Holodomor, genocide, was welcomed as an equal on the world stage. Even after Winston Churchill warned the world of Stalin's threat in a speech in Fulton, Missouri on March 5th, 1946, the full role of the USSR in starting the war was rarely mentioned. There would be no accountability for Stalin or his atrocities, even as he lowered the Iron Curtain across the middle of Europe. The Allied betrayal of Eastern Europe at Yalta confirmed to Stalin that the US and the UK were too weak to stand up to him. Roosevelt hoped that by making these monstrous concessions, Stalin would join his new brainchild, the United Nations. And Stalin was happy to sign, knowing that he would never be bound by any international organization. It was left to Harry Truman, inspired by Churchill, to create meaningful institutions, including National Security Council, CIA, and of course NATO, that saved half the world from communist tyranny. Dictators are not stopped by pieces of paper or by United Nations chapters. They are stopped by NATO. It is all well and good to make the record clear on Molotov-Ribbentrop on this anniversary, especially on Stalin's role as protagonist in launching World War II. Let us take that lesson to call things as they are. Lies are lies. Murder is murder. Dictators are dictators. And just as we cannot allow history to be revised, we must not allow the distortion of what is happening now right in front of our eyes. Thank you.